Have you ever heard of a country banning a sandwich spread? It sounds crazy, right? But what if I told you that back in 2006, the iconic Australian spread, Vegemite, was actually pulled from shelves in Denmark? Yes, you heard that right. The Danish government effectively banned it, and the story behind this is absolutely wild. It sparked an international incident that had Aussies screaming, "Cultural crime." So, what happened? Why would anyone ban this salty, dark, yeasty delight? Today, we're diving deep into the great Vegemite ban of Denmark, exploring the science, the culture clash, and the outrage that followed. Grab your toast, and maybe a jar of Vegemite if you're brave enough, because this is a story you won't want to miss. So, let's set the scene. It's 2006. Denmark has a very specific and very strict law about food fortification. Basically, the government regulates which vitamins and minerals can be added to food products. The idea is to protect consumers from getting too much of a good thing. Too many vitamins might sound like a weird problem to have, but in some cases, excessive intake can be harmful. The Danish Veterinary and Food Administration, the body in charge of this, had a simple rule. If you want to sell a food product with added vitamins, you need to prove it's safe and necessary for the Danish population. Fair enough, right? Well, that's where our beloved Vegemite runs into trouble. Vegemite, for those who haven't had the pleasure, is not just a tasty spread. It's packed with B vitamins. Thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate. It's a vitamin cocktail. Kraft Foods, the company that owned Vegemite at the time, hadn't applied for the special permission to sell their vitamin-fortified product in Denmark. So, when Danish authorities discovered jars of it being sold in a shop catering to expatriates, they brought down the hammer. The shop was ordered to stop selling it immediately. The news hit the headlines, and a tiny food regulation issue suddenly blew up into an international controversy. When news of the ban reached Australia, the reaction was swift and furious. Imagine telling Italians they can't have pasta or Americans they can't have peanut butter. That's what this felt like to Australians. Vegemite is more than just food. It's a piece of Australian identity. It's the taste of childhood, of breakfast before school, of a quick snack after a day at the beach. It's a cultural icon, right up there with kangaroos and the Sydney Opera House. The Australian media ran stories with headlines like, "Denmark's war on Vegemite, an Aussie icon banned." People were genuinely outraged. The Danish embassy in Canberra was flooded with calls and emails from angry Aussies demanding to know why their national treasure was being treated like a dangerous substance. The term cultural crime started getting thrown around. Was this really about public health? Or was it a case of a foreign government being insensitive to another country's culture? For many Australians, it felt personal. It was seen as an attack on their way of life. Politicians weighed in, with some Australian leaders publicly defending Vegemite and questioning the logic of the Danish law. The debate raged online and in newspapers. Was Denmark overreacting? Or were Australians being overly sensitive about a simple food regulation? The whole situation highlighted just how deeply food and culture are intertwined. What's a staple in one country can be seen as a strange, or in this case, a legally questionable product in another. Let's look at the Danish perspective for a moment. Their food fortification laws weren't new, and they weren't specifically targeting Vegemite. Other products, like the British spread Marmite, which is also fortified with vitamins, faced the same restrictions. Even some popular breakfast cereals and sports drinks were affected. The Danish authorities argued they were simply applying their laws consistently to protect public health. They maintained that their concern was the potential for people to consume excessive levels of certain vitamins if too many fortified foods were available. From their point of view, it was a matter of science and public safety, not cultural warfare. They weren't saying Vegemite was dangerous. They were saying the company hadn't gone through the proper legal channels to prove its safety according to Danish standards. But the cultural context is impossible to ignore. For the small community of Australian expats living in Denmark, the ban was a real blow. It wasn't just about missing a taste of home. It was about feeling like a little piece of their identity was being legislated away. Imagine moving halfway across the world, and the one thing that connects you to your roots, that simple comfort food, is suddenly contraband. It's a strange and isolating feeling. The story resonated with people globally because it touched on this universal experience of how food connects us to our heritage. It became a classic tale of bureaucratic red tape clashing with cultural passion. So, how did this all end? Did the Vegemite-loving Aussies win the war? Well, not exactly in the way you might think. The ban wasn't a short-lived affair. For years, Vegemite remained off the official market in Denmark. However, in 2011, things started to change. Following a review and adjustments to European Union food laws, which Denmark is a part of, the rules around fortification were clarified. Kraft, now Mondelez International, eventually went through the proper application process. They submitted the necessary paperwork to show that the levels of B vitamins in Vegemite were safe for Danish consumers. The Danish authorities reviewed the application and finally gave it the green light. Vegemite was officially back on the shelves. The Great Vegemite ban officially ended, but the story lives on as a fascinating case study in food law, cultural identity, and globalization. It serves as a powerful reminder that what is considered normal and cherished in one culture can be viewed very differently through the lens of another country as laws and norms. The incident forced both sides to look at their own perspectives. The Danes had to defend their public health policies against accusations of cultural insensitivity, while Australians were confronted with the reality that their beloved national spread wasn't universally understood or accepted. In the end, was it a cultural crime? That's probably too strong a term. It was more of a cultural misunderstanding, amplified by bureaucratic processes and passionate national pride. The Danish government wasn't maliciously targeting Australian culture. They were enforcing a health-focused law. But the emotional response from Australia was completely genuine and understandable. It showed the world just how much a simple jar of yeast extract can mean to a nation. It's a story about identity, belonging, and the lengths people will go to for a taste of home. So the next time you see a jar of Vegemite, remember its dramatic past. It's not just a spread. It's a survivor of an international incident, a symbol of cultural pride, and proof that sometimes the strangest battles are fought over the simplest things. What do you think? Was Denmark right to ban it? Or was it an overreach? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about this bizarre but true story from food history. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more fascinating stories. See you next time.